Rosendam is standing by down out on the floor.
Well, that was interesting. And it ended up being a pretty good night, even with all the twists and turns for your Portland Trail Blazers as they go into Smoothie King Center and grab a 122 to 109 victory over the New Orleans Pelicans. Welcome in to the fifth quarter. I'm your host, Chris Burkhardt. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, or hit us up on the Rip City Radio text line, 88528, and get your thoughts in there as well. This was a game that, let me tell you what, for at least the first quarter, it looked like it was going to be one of those situations where the Blazers didn't listen to my pregame show and do the things they need to do to win. Like I lay it out for you guys every time. It's right there. Set the tone. Don't let the Pelicans set their tone, because if they do, they will find success. We have two games already in New Orleans where we have the blueprint. The first one, the Blazers came out slow. The Pelicans kind of set the tone, played the game that they wanted to play, and the Blazers struggled to get a victory. In the second one, they had no centers, so they had nobody to rebound the basketball, and they struggled to get going offensively. And in this one, it looked ugly at first. New Orleans started on an early 7-0 run. The Blazers started 0 of 6 from the floor. And you're sitting there going, no, 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 no. Reminding yourself that basketball games are long and there was still a lot to play. The Blazers were able to answer that initial run, and they would eventually take a 22-21 lead. They would extend that lead out by a few more points to 25-22. But then the Pelicans answered with an 8-0 run, and they eventually went into the timeout at the end of the quarter up 37-29. So a quick outburst of points from the Pelicans. Keep in mind, there was no Trey Murphy, no Sadiq Bey, no Derek Queen, and they were still finding a way to get the job done. So then the Blazers, you're sitting there in the huddle waiting for the second quarter to start, and you know Tiago's telling his team, you have got to flip the script. You can't do this. This team should not be beating you like they just did in that quarter. Flex on them a little bit. And they did. The Blazers opened the quarter on a 13-4 run. They would take the lead at 42-41 on a beautiful Donovan Clingan dunk. They outscored the Pelicans 34-18 to take the 63-55 lead at halftime. Sorry, I was trying to cough there. I think I left tried to get the cough button. I didn't get to it in time. But they had the 63-55 lead at halftime. Denny Avdia, a heck of a performance, 23 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds in that first half. Shaedon Sharpe had 13 points. No other Blazer was in double figures. Zion Williamson had 20 points at halftime for the Pelicans. So you get to the second half of basketball now, and you have to figure out how you're going to continue this string of play. Now, the Blazers did their best offensively. It didn't go great in the third quarter. Luckily, defensively, they were still locked in. They had held the Pelicans to just 20 points. In the second and third quarter, the Pelicans combined for 38 points, which is just one more than they scored in the first quarter by itself. In the fourth quarter, they scored 34, but the Blazers poured it on and scored 37. A lot of that led by guys like Caleb Love. Final score, 122-109. You could take a look at the box score, kind of see what went on there. And, I mean, I just said, Caleb Love had a big game. Boy, howdy, yes, he did. But we're going to start on the Pelicans side of things, as we usually do, looking at what New Orleans was able to do. Zion Williamson ended with 35 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 15 of 26 from the floor, 13 points from Bryce McGowan, 16 points from Jordan Poole, 18 from Jeremiah Fears. On the bench, Carlo Makovic had 16 for the Pelicans. On the Trailblazers side of things, Tamani Kumara, a little bit of a bounce-back game. Still only shot 4 of 11 from the field, every single field goal being a three-pointer. But he ended the night with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. and a block shot. Chris Murray had 6 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, starting in place of the injured Jeremy Grant. Donovan Clingan, 11 points, along with 15 rebounds, 9 of them on the offensive side. We talked about how that was going to be clutch as both these teams come in as good rebounding teams. 19 offensive rebounds for both teams. The Blazers did win the overall rebound battle, 46-42, which is massive. You can look at that and say it was only a 4 rebound difference, but that's a massive difference when you consider that the last game in New Orleans, when they got ran out of that gym, remember they didn't have any centers, no Robert Williams, no Donovan Clingan, no Young Hansen. The Pelicans had 20 more rebounds than Portland did. So that's a big victory for the Trailblazers. Keeping our way through the lineup here. 34 points for Denny Avdia to go along with 11 assists and 7 rebounds. He also had just 2 turnovers, so a very good night for him. 23 points for Shaedon Sharpe on 9 of 18 shooting. And then on the bench, the Trailblazers bench led by Caleb Love and his 22 points, which is as many as the entire New Orleans Pelicans bench scored, and 22 of those points. That's 34 bench points, and Caleb Love had 22 of those points. So a big night for Caleb Love, and he was 6 of 11 from behind the arc, once again tying that career high in 3-point makes. He's been absolutely solid. You start to look at him, and you look at Sidy Cissoko, and you start seeing guys that are battling for roster spots, man, because they're legit. And Caleb Love has been shooting the ball well as of late, and when he gets in a groove, boy howdy, can he be fun. And so, yeah, that's what happened. The Blazers started out slow, which we did not want them to do. They led the rebound battle, which we did want them to do. And we did mention the turnover game, how you cannot be lazy with the basketball, which the Blazers had been as of late. Not tonight, my friends. 9 turnovers, a season low in turnovers for your Trailblazers. That is actually first time that they've been in single digits, which is absolutely awesome for the Trailblazers because that doesn't happen too often, not at all. So for the Blazers to have a good night like that, take care of the ball, that's exactly what you needed from this team tonight. And you look at the overall turnovers in these games, the only other time they've been close, they had 10 turnovers at Orlando, 12 turnovers at Dallas on the 16th of November, and then 13 they've had a couple times. So this is a team, though, that also has multiple 20 turnover games. So the fact that they're out there be able to hold it to 9, that's a big win for your Trailblazers. Though the only rough part is we did talk about how the Blazers do get a lot of blocks against them. They actually are the league leader in the amount of times their shots get blocked. Well, in this game, New Orleans was on one. They had 9 blocks. I think it was in the first half, end of the night, with 11. And again, Blazers were attacking the rim, which is what they needed to do. I think at that point, you're going to get some shots blocked. It'd be something that you would hope that they can fix in the long run. But at the end of the day, it all worked out as the Blazers grabbed the 122-109 victory. If you want to join the conversation, 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and jump in the chat there, or text us at 88528. On YouTube, Elijah asked, what were the keys to the game? I missed it. Sorry, that's okay. That's okay if you miss game day, my friend. People are busy. But yeah, the keys were to the game, as I just stated, was be aggressive on the boards because they needed that. That beat them last time. But the biggest key was not letting the Pelicans set the tempo and the tone of the game. Unfortunately, the Pelicans tried too early, and it was looking like it was going to work. So mad kudos to the team and Thiago Splitter, because that second quarter was where they were allowed to flip that switch and set the tone that they wanted and didn't look back. That's what they needed to do. It's what they did, and they got the dub. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the 5th quarter. When we come back, it's time for our drive of the night, shot of the night. Still have Coach's Corner and game balls to get to, all here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Sharp slows it down across the timeline. Drives left of the lane, slips through, banks it in with the left hand. Patience from Shaden Sharp. And the Blazers have a 10-point advantage. On the other end, there's a block by Murray as Spears tried to run the length of the floor. Murray stayed with him, blocks it. Here comes Avdia, picks it up. What a pass to Chris Murray as he dunks it for 2, and the Blazers lead it 67-55.
Yeah, there you hear the drive of the night through the, the hiccups of this computer. Brendan is not in studio today. He's working remotely, so he's not going to jump in on the mic. But I'll tell you here, if he was here, he would agree with me when I say that maybe for all the audio we play and the things we do on these computers, we can get a desktop tower that's not like an E-Machines, which was like a big thing in like 2005. Like these computers, my goodness. Ay, ay, ay. Like, I'm surprised we don't have to use AOL to log in sometimes. My goodness. My goodness. That's a Burkhardt gripe for the day. Like I said, Brendan would be in lockstep with me, I assure you. This is the 5th quarter. Welcome back in. Chris Burkhardt here with you. You can follow me on social at Chris J. Burkhardt. You also join the conversation. 88528 is the text line, or head on over to youtube.com. Type in Rip City Radio and join the chat there. Blazers with a big win tonight over the Pelicans. Much needed win. And we talked about it in the game day, the pregame show. This wasn't a game that you wanted to drop. If you're the Blazers, you need to win the winnable games to continue to keep in line and where you want to be when it comes to being in the play-in. Coming in as the 10th seed, you got to be careful. You want to make sure you are okay. You are ready to go when every single time your number's called. But if you continue to drop games against teams that you shouldn't lose to, like when you lose games to Dallas or you struggle with no centers and you lose to the Pelicans, that hurts. You weren't ready. You got to be ready. And for the first quarter, it looked a little shaky tonight. Not going to lie. Everyone's sitting there going, no. But they got it done. They were able to get it done. And that's a big victory for the Blazers in the long run. This is not something we hang our hats on and go, hell yeah, we are so glad we beat the Pelicans, everyone. Let's go party. But it was a victory that you needed to, like I said, stay in line when it comes to the standings, because you don't want to give away any ground to those teams that you should not give ground to. We've talked about the schedule getting easier down the stretch. We've talked about the possibility of getting bodies back. Drew Holiday getting closer to being on the court. He's getting cleared. Scoot Henderson getting closer. He's been cleared for some ramped up activity. So those things matter, and those things are good, especially when you couple that with an easier schedule and games that you can probably win down the line. So even though you were shorthanded tonight, you wanted to take advantage, and they did. And so now the Blazers still sit there at 10th in the play-in, winners of 1 straight, 6-4 in their last 10, and they have a 2-game lead over the Clippers. It's a good spot to be. Good spot to be. 1 game back of the 9th place Memphis Grizzlies. So that is a good win tonight, getting that one over the Pelicans. You didn't want to drop that one. Now, tomorrow, you have another tough game. You're right back at it against the San Antonio Spurs, the Spurs who won today over the Pacers 123-113. The interesting part about that game tomorrow, and we will know fully as we get closer, but is if they will or will not have Victor Wembanyama. My guess is no, just because you got to be cautious. He hyperextended his knee the other day. MRI came back clean. He's good, but he did not play in this game against the Pacers. So Spurs got to take that cautious approach between him and Jokic, who just got scared with two of the best in the league with scary knee injuries and got best case scenario. So if you don't have Wemby, that absolutely changes the dynamic of this Spurs team, a Spurs team that, again, they just got to win over the Pacers. But we're talking about the 6-win in the Indiana Pacers. They are not very good right now. Apparently, Tyrese Halliburton was an absolute monster, and they miss him terribly. You look at how that game went down tonight. Harrison Barnes had 5 points. Julian Champagny had 9 points. Luke Cornett had 9 points. De'Aaron Fox had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. And Stephon Castle had 19 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds. On the bench, Dylan Harper had 22 points, Keldon Johnson had 16, and Kelly Olynyk had 10. That Spurs team. Spurs team's good. That Spurs team is good. And so again, that's where the Blazers get tomorrow. And if you don't have a Victor Wembanyama, like I said, it still changes. It changes everything about that team. They're still a good team, though, so you got to pay attention. Now, speaking of the Spurs winning that game over the Pacers, let's take the time real quick to take a look at some of the other scores around the league. See how the Blazers are stacking up. Some of these games might be important right now. The Kings trailing the Suns 118 to 96 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Kings are the second worst team in the Western Conference right now, basically tied with the Pelicans. Thunder with a 20-point lead over the Warriors, and that is a big one for the Blazers because, again, looking at the standings, the Warriors are just 3.5 ahead of the Blazers, so you got to watch how they play as well. And so, yeah, if OKC can hold on there, that is good. Now, the other one that is another one to watch, we can start getting to the scoreboard watching time of the year, is the Grizzlies currently trailing the Lakers 45 to 33. And if the Grizzlies lose that game, they will fall to 15 and 18 and still be right there. But the Blazers will be, they will fall to 15 and 19. And the Blazers will just be a half game back. That is a good spot to be as you're getting ready to, again, I keep saying getting ready, but you're like at the halfway point. You're really starting to dig your feet in and start solidifying what the rest of the year is like. Because if you are a 10-win team, you're probably say, okay, the play-in's not in reach. Even though you're, maybe only 6 games back, whatever. That's a lot of ground to make up if your team's not very good. But the Blazers, like I said, right there in the play-in, got to really keep watching. Now, some other scores. Like I said, Spurs 123 over the Pacers, 123 to 113. The Washington Wizards 119. The Brooklyn Nets 99. The Cavs 113. The Nuggets 108. The Hawks with a 111-99 win over the Knicks. The Bulls with a 121-114 victory over the Magic. The Bucks with a slim 122-121 win over Charlotte. And, of course, your Blazers with a 122-109 win over the Pelicans. So, there you go. That is where we're at. And, yeah, this Blazer team, they got the win they needed. That's really all you can say. It was ugly at times. It was nice at times. I still can't get over the fact that half this team is out, that the update we got the other day was a little bit of a nothing burger, but at least it was an update because I'm just getting to the point, my friends, where I want to see Jeremy Grant and I want to see Scoot Henderson and I want to see Drew Holiday and I want to see Matisse Thybulle and I want to see Blake Wesley just on the floor ready to go. I want to see what this team looks like at full health, something we have not seen. You could go back to the beginning of the year when you were almost there, but you didn't have a Scoot. Dame, I'm not counting. We knew he wasn't going to play this year, but I want to see this team as close to that full health as possible, sooner rather than later. But tip the hat, because even at half strength tonight, they got the victory over the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, we're going to take a break here on the fifth quarter. When we come back, we're going to head to the coach's corner here from head coach Tiago Splitter. We're going to hand out a game ball, and we're going to get out of here because we got to toss to some Seattle Kraken hockey already in progress. 9:53 in the first period. It is a tied game, 0-0. Seattle taking on the Vancouver Canucks. All right, before we take a break, though, it is time for our shot of the night.
Kenny spins, gives it to Love for 3. That's good. 19 points for Caleb Love, and the Blazers lead at 105-84. Avdia with the assist. He's got another double-double, his 11th of the season.
Well, welcome back into the fifth quarter. Chris Burkhardt here with you. Time now for the Coach's Corner. Let's hear from head coach Thiago Splitter.
The whole game, at least for the second part of the game. So, and being smart after that, when Donovan roll and find shooters, and I think Caleb Love also had a great game offensively, just knocking down shots and creating for us.
What did you think of Denny's decision making, especially when obviously the second half they were really going on?
Yeah, I think he creates, so much gravity, so the whole defense is around him. So that allows, like, Caleb, shots, too many shots, shaded shots. So DC is just a monster on the offense rebound as well. So, it's a big part of our team.
Can you talk a little more about Donovan's rebounding tonight as well? As you mentioned, 9 offensive rebounds tonight. You guys had 24 second chance points, I think so. I mean, you talk about them scoring big last game. You guys did really jump for this game.
Yeah, I think it was huge, especially, crashing from the outside. Many times we see him fighting under the rim, but we had a couple of those. He was just crashing to the board and running after a rebound. So, just growing as a basketball player, growing as a big and being active, getting used to play like high minutes and being effective.
For a big man as well, and for a young big man, you talk about playing high minutes, and you're exactly right. Like, he's been increasing those minutes. Kind of, what is the struggle there for a young big man?
Well, you keep the strength. Like, usually when you go for long periods of playing, you start to get sloppy, or you don't crash anymore. You just rest sometimes, and I don't think he's doing that. He's being aggressive. He's fighting that fatigue, and he's going for every rebound.
And there you hear from head coach Thiago Splitter after the game there in the echoey bowels of Smoothie King Center, one of the worst arenas in the NBA. I will tell you that. We'll say with my chest. I don't like that one. It's a bad one. We've talked about it plenty of times, so it's terrible. All right, so we did get a question here in the YouTube chat about any player updates. And yeah, I got some. If you missed the press release yesterday or missed Blazers game day, of course, the Blazers did send out a press release yesterday with some updates here. Drew Holiday has been cleared for progression of on-court basketball activities as he continues to return to play process. Availability will be determined based on functional response to loading and updated accordingly. So that one is basically a long way of saying he's getting closer to being day-to-day is what it sounds like, ramping up that activity, getting ready to go. Scoot Henderson has initiated non-contact on-court basketball activities as he advances to the next phase of rehabilitation. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks with updates provided as appropriate, which, again, that's a big step because for a while there he wasn't doing any non-contact stuff. He was just, you'd see him pregame taking shots, but not even jump shots, just flat-footed, just going through the motions with the upper body. So good news there. The bad news about it is it still sounds like he's a ways off. Doesn't sound like he's coming back in the next week or so. Hopefully you get him back before the turn of the January to February, but we shall see. Jeremy Grant is traveling with the team on this road trip, and is considered day-to-day with left Achilles tendonitis. And the interesting one was Matisse Thybulle. So the quote is, while reconditioning for return to play following left thumb ligament surgery, Matisse Thybulle has been working on a progressive ramp-up despite persistent symptoms with right knee tendinopathy. He continues to progress with on-court work and conditioning, and his status will be updated as appropriate. So, unfortunately, it's not the thumb that seems to be holding Matisse Thybulle back. It's a little bit of tendinopathy in that knee, and keep in mind he has dealt with some knee injuries throughout his career and his time here in Portland. So that is not a good sign, and hopefully it is something you can shake off and get back on the court because he's pretty good when he's out there. Speaking of pretty good, it's time now to hand out a game ball. Now, I don't always just go straight to the box score and see the person who has the most points and give them the game ball. You guys know that. And on any other night, I would have given the game ball to Caleb Love. Another solid performance off the bench, hit some big shots when the Blazers needed him to, and it was a great performance. But tonight's game ball does go to the leading scorer, Denny Avdia, who had 34 points in this one on 10 of 19 shooting, had just 2 turnovers, also had 11 assists and 7 rebounds. And the reason I'm giving him the game ball is because in that first quarter when the Blazers started 0 for 6 and the Pelicans were out to the early 7-0 lead and the offense couldn't get it going, Denny Avdia was 4 of 5 for 13 points. He had 13 of the 29 points in the first quarter. In the first half, 23 points in total. And he was really the reason that the Blazers were even in that game for that first quarter and a half, and the main reason they were able to take the lead late and never look back. Came up big when they needed him to, and really did that thing where he's getting pretty good at putting the team on his back. And again, in this one, I thought if it wasn't for him in those first 2 quarters, the Pelicans might have found a little bit of groove and maybe ran away with this thing. Denny was like, no, not going to happen. As one of our texters text during the game, I think we can all agree that Denny doesn't have the word tanking in his vocabulary. And no, he's just all gas, no break, go, go, go. And he really kept the team in it in that first quarter and into that second quarter. So shout out to Denny. All right, that is going to do it for the 5th quarter tonight. We got a game tomorrow. So, got to get out of here, get our rest before we're right back at it. And, of course, we got some Seattle Kraken action going on right now. We're going to toss to that game in progress. End of the first period, Seattle with a 1-0 lead over the Vancouver Canucks. The Blazers will be back at it tomorrow in San Antonio, which is funny. I brought this up on the 5th quarter a couple games ago. My very first road trip was to San Antonio. It was when I first got hired, and that was in 2014. And the boss said, "Hey, if the Blazers win that series against Houston, I'm going to send you on the road to San Antonio because I can't make it." It's like, okay, sounds good to me. Obviously, Dame hits that .9 shot. The rest is history. I get to go. I took the time to look at the box score the other day. I think Thiago Splitter averaged about 6 points, 5 rebounds in that series, 5 games against the Trail Blazers. That's right. I got to be in San Antonio to watch Thiago Splitter play. Feather in the cap. All right, but with a 5 o'clock tip-off, that means I will have game day for you starting at 3 o'clock tomorrow here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Once again, final score from New Orleans. Your Trailblazers, 122. The Pelicans, 109. It's a Rip City winner, as Travis would say. Show me your Blazer, as Chad would say. And as I would say, Rip City. I'll talk to you on the next one.